Thank you, Mr. President. These charter schools have spent a lot of money to dot their I's and cross their T's. Kids have been promised admission into these schools. Parents are expecting their child to go to certain schools. Aren't we all about equity and fairness? Is this fair to children that are in failing schools? Before I even begin my remarks, I'm going to give you a personal story about myself, which I can relate to a lot of parents. And that my 3 boys, I had tried to get them into a charter school. And I know the disappointment that one has when you receive the letter that says your child's on a waiting list. Because I couldn't, in good conscience, send my children to the school district that I was living in. Thank God I live in North Smithfield now, and we have a great school system there, great low taxes, open green spaces. But not every family can move to a different district. I couldn't afford to send my kids to private school, so my choice was homeschool, was public school, and charter school, or move. And at the time, I couldn't move. And there are many families in that same situation, where they'd like to go to a different district, but they can't. I listened to hours of testimony in the Education Committee. Parents, guardians, teachers, administrators, even an 11-year-old boy pleaded with the committee to vote down the moratorium on charter schools. People testified in Spanish. Do you understand the desperation to call in and not even speak the language, but begging to have these schools continue because they are the hope for these families? Charter schools have been one of the few bright spots for many Rhode Island children and their families. Why would we want to halt that success? Because it's more about the financial impact on the public school system, not on what's best for children. Even though charter schools technically are in themselves public schools. And while we might want to blame charter schools for the financial problems plaguing districts like Providence, the reality is a moratorium on charter schools is not going to fix the problem. Instead, it sends the message that the purpose of the school system is to serve the staff and not the students. I remind everyone a little over a year ago, the Johns Hopkins report revealed that the failure of Providence public schools making it among the worst in the nation. We make that list quite often. To quote Johns Hopkins report, students in Providence public schools aren't learning much. Bullying, fighting are rampant. Bad teachers are nearly impossible to fire, and a thicket of bureaucracy makes it difficult to know who's in charge. Based on their direct observations, they found 90% of students do not score proficient in math. 86 are not proficient in English. The great majority of students are not learning on or near grade level. Teachers are demoralized and feel unsupported. Parents feel shut out of their child's education. Principals find it very difficult to demonstrate leadership. Many of the school buildings deteriorating across the city, some even dangerous to students and teachers' well-being. Some conditions were so dreadful that seasoned members of the Hopkins team broke into tears while visiting crumbling school buildings. Whole pages could have been dedicated to the complaints from both principals and teachers about the district's collective bargaining agreement. We can't get rid of bad teachers. It's a slap in the face to teachers who come here every day to do a good job. It's demoralizing. No one can lay off teachers. Ineffective teachers get shuffled. Displacement process, and they use an expletive. When asked by reporters whether or not she would send her own children to public schools in the city, Commissioner of Education Angelica Infante Green said no. It's hard to reconcile that despite our best expectations, above average per pupil expenditure, our government exhibits a lack of urgency when it comes to the education in this state. Quite simply, children must come first, and Rhode Island families deserve more choice in their education. These kids get one shot at a good education. Eleanor Roosevelt said, "Life is like a parachute. You got to get it right the first time." And we can no longer allow a child's zip code or a family's wealth to determine the quality of a child's education. Thank you.